Welcome back, guys. My name is Indeepa and I will be with you for the next session. George Lois once said, creativity can solve almost any problem. The creative act, the defeat of habit by originality, overcomes everything. Up next, we have one of the biggest speakers in our lineup, someone who has worked on record-breaking blockbuster hits such as Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Black Panther, and many more. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Prakhar Agnihotri, a visual effects artist from our neighborhood, India. Hello, Mr. Prakhar. How are you doing?
Hello, hi there. Hi, everyone. I'm good. It's great to be here. How are you?
We're also doing great, Mr. Prakhar. So before we get started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? What would be the three main qualities that define you?
Right. So, hi, everyone. I'm Prakhar Agnihotri. I hail from a small town from Chhattisgarh in India. It's called Raigad, and I've pretty much had my education there. I went to Manipal University, Karnataka for my graduations, and then I got into the visual effects industry. Three main qualities, I would say that I've always been very curious. I'm creative and creativity. So that's it.
Okay, Mr. Prakhar. Thank you. So, we hear about visual effects like everywhere, but in your own terms, in your own words, what exactly is visual effects?
Well, you see, visual effects is nothing but many things. What we do is we take computer generated imagery, we call it CGI, and we combine it with live action footages to make even unimaginable things seem like it's real. So yeah, it's a pretty brilliant technique where I think which is a very important part of today's cinema, today's industry. And moving forward, I think it's going to be one of the biggest things in the film. So it's very exciting right now. It's an exciting time to be in the visual effects industry. Yeah.
You seem to love visual effects. So could you tell us a little bit about like what inspired you to get into visual effects?
Oh, okay. So visual effects, animation, many things. Since I was a kid, I was really fascinated with magicians. The showstoppers, the magicians, and the tricks that they would do. So I was in boarding school when I also used to try a few tricks, and somehow my friends could see right through all my tricks, and I was just not very good at it. So I always wanted to learn magic, and I was always from a very young age very fascinated with things that are not there, things that are imagined. So when I watched movies like The Prestige, which was about two magicians going at each other, Avatar, at a very young age, I was mind blown. Like the entire, talk of there being a different world, and then we can just see into it and just live the experience it. That made me realize and made me feel like I want to be a part of something like this. So right after my 12th, I got into Manipal University, where I studied animation and visual effects and stop motion, various kinds of animations. And after that, I just started out looking for a job. It was that journey where I could finally create magic on screen. So that was fun.
So if I'm correct, you learned about VFX at your university, right?
I'm sorry, can you come back?
So if I'm not mistaken, you learned VFX at your university, right? Like the entire
process. Yeah, right.
Yes, okay. So after university, what do you think was like actually officially qualifies as your first project? How do you feel how did you feel when you know that you got selected?
Oh, that was a crazy experience. So right after my university, I was looking for internships, and I realized that a lot of these Hollywood movies that I so genuinely want to be a part of are done here in South Asia, and then India was one of the biggest market. And I was like, I need to look for those companies. I Googled many companies, and just found out one right company that had probably the biggest projects back then. So I just applied, and I was grateful enough to get selected. It was a great moment because it happened right after college. no prior experience, just the studies. And yeah, it was crazy. I mean, my internships did help, but to be able to work on a project like Avengers Infinity War and to be your first official project, it was a big thing for me.
Yes, so that is actually part of our next question. So,
Okay.
so within a short time, you have worked on some of the biggest box office hits in the world. All of this at such a young age. How did you
Okay.
start your career? Could you recollect a little bit about your journey, like from the way you started to the moment right now?
Yeah, so I learned a lot about visual effects when I was in my second year. To be really honest, I was particularly looking at filmmaking and animations as something as a way forward for me. But visual effects, kind of, we had specific classes about particle effects and many things that we would learn in these softwares. So that kind of inspired me ki, okay, it has a brilliant use case, and I would want to do it in practical life. So I would collaborate with many people from my own college from different courses to make short films and just add visual effects in them, force these things, like we can achieve it. Even though back then it was very tough to achieve it. I was just learning this software called Blender, and it was a whole new world. It was 3D and it was very different. So from there, I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this. How can I learn more about this? I started learning, I started researching, I spoke to my faculties. They really helped me a lot. And then eventually, yeah, when I got a job in one of the companies, I was very excited. It was a pretty straightforward journey, to be really honest, because I had a one-track mind that I wanted to be a part of the Hollywood ecospace and the kind of big budget visual effects work that's being done. So yeah, it happened.
So I think that's quite a comprehensive answer. So in terms of a movie, could you guide us through the timeline like for a big movie, like from the initial concept for the movie, then finally to the premiere at the red carpet, like the entire timeline?
Okay, wow, that's an interesting question because there's so much that goes on, and there's only so little I can share. But what I can tell you is that the best part is from the very first step, that is the ideation of a project. Because I've also done a lot of freelancing and I've been involved in these projects from very beginning. What happens is we discuss the blueprint, as in how to go forward after the first idea is ready and the script is being written. So as soon as we jump to screenplay, we distribute the work that's going to happen for visual effects. And from there on, we create an entire pipeline, considering how much work the story might take, the storytelling might take. So again, visual effects is just a tool. It's to enhance your storytelling narrative, right? So it's a great way to, I believe, communicate things that are not there as well as that are there. There are some of the movies that I would definitely give you an example. Maybe you guys can watch and understand of things like Interstellar, as in how they created the black hole. We all know that black hole is there, but that had never been created before. That in video that had never been filmed the way it was with the narrative, and it just enhances everything. So from there, from the very ideation itself, we decide how much work is going to be there. And when finally, towards the post-production of the film, when the film comes to an end, of course, a lot of compositing work goes into it. We want the film to be look as beautiful and enhanced as possible. And yeah, then eventually the release happens, I believe. I'm keeping a lot of information to myself here, but that's for good reasons.
Yes. Yeah, we understand. I mean, like working on big movies such as this, like there are non-disclosure agreements. Yeah, no worries.
Whatnot.
Yeah. So yes. So before like you get into a movie, who like approaches you to do VFX? Like who comes and tells and hey, could you do VFX for me? And what would be the like main deciding factors that would affect your decision as to whether to accept or reject the project?
Okay, right. So of course, the director plays a very important part when you want to onboard into a project. Like if your vision matches with the director's vision, it's amazing to work on that project. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes when your vision doesn't match very well with the director's vision, you might face challenges later on because a lot of things kept on, you know, getting changes and it keeps coming back to you. But if you can find the right balance, that's why you'll see a lot of renowned directors out there. They like to work with the same team they worked before because they can deliver the desired output for them. They're comfortable working with the director's style. So yeah, and it all depends like how we choose our projects. Technically, since I'm freelancing, and what gets me going is the creative freedom that I need for the visualizers. There are different directors. I mean, I can take some big names also from the industry, like say Zack Snyder. He's a visual mastermind. He's a visualizer himself, and when he writes his stories, he has the specific visions in his head about how he would like things to be done. So he hands over the blueprint to the creative team, whereas certain directors just rely on the visual effects masterminds and they just leave it to them to create and take it forward. So for me, it's just the creative freedom that I get, that I get to learn a lot, and something that's challenging. That's very important for me. If I'm working on same thing constantly, then maybe I'm not learning and growing much. So it's very important that these challenges are always there.
So let's say that some of your visual effects design do not exactly match with the directors. How do you find compatibility there? How does that process work?
Yeah, basically one of the most important things about industry is that if you want to be into visual effects, you need to adapt to change with agility. That's one of the main things you need to do as an individual in this industry. So, and that teaches you a lot at the same time. So who would want to turn down an opportunity to learn something new? So when that happens, we just take it as a learning and grow, because that will help us to work with more people.
Oh, that's like a really inspiring answer. So
yeah.
So visual effects artists work in a team, like video and production. So how many artists would make up a team for a big movie?
So imagine for biggest movies, just I'll give you a real life example. Whenever you're sitting at the end of one of these big budget superhero movies that you love so much, wait for the credits to roll and try to see the number of names that are out there. It's in tens and thousands. So many people are involved. It was never a one person job. It can never be a one person job. And it's not just a team effort. It's the effort of the collective, number of people that are there. Takes too much to make a film that's heavy in VFX, and not a lot of people know about it. But yeah, it's crazy, the scale, the amount of work that's there, and it's being done by everybody across countries. It's crazy.
Okay, so you have worked with some of the biggest movie studios in the world. How exactly do major studios work in terms of communication, contracts, and outsourcing? So I know that there are certain limitations for the answer that you can give.
No, I mean,
without falling in trouble.
No, nothing like that. When you said communication, outsourcing, contracts, none of that fall into my department. I'm from the creative department. So I think someone from those department can answer this question better. But what I can tell you is that it's seamless. That's why you see these movies out there. You enjoy these experiences, and because it's a global effort, that's the best part about it. So everything that happens, it's seamless. Every other work that we do as individual has its own challenges, and those are the challenges that push you to be better. So I think those are there in this industry as well. But that's the best part, that it's a global effort that you see out there.
Okay, so moving to one.
Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's comprehensive answer.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next question. So how do you find inspiration for a visual effects design? Does the movie director come to you with the idea directly, or do they give general guideline? You mentioned the director Zack Snyder. So
yeah,
how does that work?
It both ways. Like I said, both ways. Some directors like to completely rely on the visual effects mastermind, and some of them are very strict about their visualization that they've done. So some of them really like to hand over a blueprint, then they want the team to develop on it. So there's a lot of ideation that goes behind creating something that big, and it's just the scale is so big that it's not just like a half an hour show. It's something that you're gonna watch for 2.5 to 3 hours. And sometimes, especially today, nowadays, movies are so visually so heavy when it comes to visual effects. So there are many people just involved in the ideation itself and the process of, it's a collaboration. That's the most beautiful part of it. It's multiple minds across the globe collaborating into creating something unimaginable, something beautiful that you've never seen before.
Okay, I think that was a really good answer as well. So this is a personal question, the next one for you.
Okay.
So what would be some of your favorite visual effects in a movie? So these are there are two parts to this. Something that you have designed and also something that you have not designed and you have seen.
Like I said, while growing up, I was fascinated by this movie called Prestige. And it's one of the best explanation of, as an example rather, of how best a visual effects team and a special effects team can collaborate together and bring something beautiful on the screen. So Chris Nolan, likes to keep it real when it comes to using special effects. In films like Inception, he has literally created sets where when you see those actions happening, it's for real, but you won't be able to say if it's real or it's visual effects, because it's blended seamlessly in a way that's very, very deceiving. One of my favorite visual effects movie, not very VFX heavy, but still, is Social Network. Now that may sound like funny because it's about Facebook's co-founder, but you'll be surprised to know that the number of VFX shot used in that movie is more than the number of VFX shot used in Godzilla from 1990. So you just don't, it's tough to comprehend, I know, because you'll think that this movie is reality, but at the same time, visual effects is not just flares on the screen. It's also what goes behind. It's something that's hidden in the plain sight, like I said. So yeah, it's my favorite. These are some of my favorite movies, the ones that I named. Interstellar, again, I had already named it earlier. It's one of my all-time favorite.
That's a really fascinating answer. Wow. So what do you think about the VFX industry as a whole? Is it growing? Are there enough and more VFX artists, or are they lacking?
Oh, the VFX industry is blooming right now. It's such a good time to be in the industry. It's, today VFX is an integral part of a movie making process. It helps you save a lot of budget. Let's just say there's a situation where something is just unimaginable, then you tend to VFX. Something that's dangerous to pull out, then you tend to VFX. And some practical effects might take a lot of effort to create and a lot of money. But if you take it from a CGI route, if you go to doing it by digitally, then you save a lot of money, and a lot of studios are opting that today. So yeah, it's only going to get bigger. The scope of VFX on each film, even the smaller budget films now have a specific budget for visual effects. So it's a good time, and like I said, it's blooming right now.
Yeah, that's very good for young VFX enthusiasts who
it is
here with us at the audience as well. So yeah, our next question. So this is actually the kind of a personal question. How hectic is the life of a VFX artist, especially during timeline for production of a movie? Do you have time to spend for yourself, for your family?
Yeah, I wouldn't say hectic. I'd say challenging sometimes, because we have to understand that these projects are passion projects, and tens of thousands of people are working on it together, right? So, and these take a lot of time. Like I have said earlier, a film might take around 3 to 2 years to be made. More in many cases, you'll be surprised to know. So it's a collective effort, and with the right amount of passion, you don't really feel it. But like I said, there are challenges, but at the same time, there are not. You can always, and the best part is when the project is delivered, you can go on a great vacation with your family and enjoy the release of your film, watch it with them. It's the proudest moment when your work is out there in front of you, and you're amongst the audience sitting and just watching it. So it's all worth it.
So, what would be your future aspirations in the cinema industry?
Oh, so wow, that's a good question because I'm currently working on my own film. It's nearly done with the script, and uh, hopefully one day you'll get to see it. I'm putting all my focus on it right now. So let's see where I go
Could
with
you
it.
tell us a little bit more, if it's possible?
About well, yeah, one thing might be disappointing. It's not a VFX heavy film, but like I said, even smaller films do have a VFX budget, and there are some shots and scenarios where it'll be too dangerous for you to pull it out just by production. So yeah, I am planning to have a little bit of VFX budget for this one too. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I'll ask a rhetorical question. Are you the designing the VFX for that film, right?
See, like I said, it's not a one-person job. You need a team. So, like I said, I'll be getting the blueprint and print ready, of course. But then it has to go to a team that gel together and work together.
So our next question is, how do you turn a concept into a final design, like the entire concept in your head? How does it like come out as a production? Like, does it exactly come out as you planned? And how do you like make adjustments if it doesn't?
Well, of course not. Not everything comes out as planned. But you know what? You'll be surprised to know that it usually comes out better than planned. And that happens because we have such great creative mind in the industry and we get direct inputs from everyone. So whenever we are working on I'm talking about particularly my freelance experience where we are working on, let's just say it very grounded, but it comes out to be something unique and then we roll with it.
So in terms of freelancing, are all visual effects artists freelancing, or is there like where you can go to a company and like stay with them over a long period of time?
I mean, it depends on the individual. I started with a company. I have found a little more creative freedom when I'm freelancing because the budgets are the projects are small scaled and they are limited to the budgets, wherein you get to play around a lot. But an artist can go both ways. I mean, I think working on bigger teams, bigger projects teaches you a lot. So, and freelancing gives you the real life ground experience to tackle things. So yeah, it's amazing. It's both ways. It's amazing. I mean, you can go either. You can't go wrong with either. But yeah, you need to have that solid knowledge of the industry first. So once you have that.
Okay. So what would be some of the biggest challenges that you have had to face during your time in the industry over the few years?
Biggest challenges. Well, I was fortunate enough to have everything go very smoothly, but at the same time, when you say biggest challenges, I assume that you're talking project wise. And sometimes it so happens that projects are on deadline, and then you're working on the deadline to try to achieve it in the right ways. Your ambition is so that you want to give the best output. And I'm sure every creative person can relate to it. But sometimes most of the times we have to work according to the given timelines. So the biggest challenge that I face is to keep my ambition in check and then work on the project.
So I'm sure you must have seen your end credits at the end of big movie. How does it feel? Did you have like a goal to go there someday? And how does it feel when you see that moment?
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was with the team where we all went to watch and everyone was super excited. But what happened was when I was back in college, a few of my friends, so it was my birthday and I had to, celebrate. So I took a few of my friends to cinema to watch a movie. And they all knew that I love the kind of work and I love the movie. That's why I've taken them. Not a very party person, so I was like, my treat is the movie, right? So we went there, and after the movie ended, we all had like a good laugh. We heard for the movie was so entertaining. Our name there, and that kind of stayed with me. So throughout my journey, I've just thought about climbing being one of the, because it's something it, and you could see the entire theater cheering for something amazing, and then at the end of the credits, your name's there. So yeah, this incident it still stays with me whenever I think about it.
That must be when you realize, like, I did it, moment like that.
There's a long way to go, to be really honest. A long way to go, so yeah, but step one feels good.
Yeah, so we are organizing creative circuit from AIESEC in University of Sri Lanka. I think you also have worked with AIESEC before, if I'm not mistaken. Can you share that experience with the audience?
Right, I was not directly associated with AIESEC. I did kind of work with them in many of their events. I was in the design team, and we were responsible for branding, and we were responsible for all the creative output that those events had. And it was a great experience. I think AIESEC is doing a really good job, organizing these events. This is again an AIESEC event, and it's brilliant that I get to talk to everyone in the session. And something like that I've been seeing AIESEC do from a very long time. So yeah, it's great.
So final question from the Q&A session. What advice would you have for someone who wants to take up visual effects and production as a career? Someone who is taking their baby steps into the industry. Someone who wants to go as high as you one day.
But there's many things to say, to be really honest. But I think what the most important thing is that you need to have the right passion for it. You need to just, be, like I said, adapt to change with agility. You need to relate well with people, top, bottom, and laterally. And you just, you need to have that will to learn and contribute. That's the best thing one can have, and genuinely have appreciation for the art that you're working on. Because I've seen many don't know if they're in the right path, but I think believing and just knowing and understanding that you're in the right path, and to have that passion and of course confidence in yourself takes you a long way. So I believe anyone can get into it as long as you have the right passion and will to learn. Sometimes you do have to unlearn many things, but relearning is the key.
So I think that was really insightful for all the VFX enthusiasts in our audience. So they also have some questions.
I hope.
Yeah. They also have some questions from Mr. Prakhar through YouTube and Facebook. So let's move to that. So the first question: have you had the chance to meet any special people, directors and actors during your work in big movies?
Well, it was a very studio-centric role. So sometimes on Zoom call, you would talk to a lot of high-level supervisors and directors and whatnot, but not in person, not yet, but soon.
Okay. So another question that we have this is in terms of projects. How do you prioritize multiple projects to meet deadlines? Let's say you're working on, let's say, 2 or 3 projects at the same time. How do you prioritize?
Yeah, sometimes you do. So it all depends on what the deadlines are set for. There are multiple ways in which the industry operates. So the production team, they plan how the deadline should be and for what purpose. So we just see what's on priority and what would require the amount of manpower and the input, the work that goes into it. So accordingly, we designate the work, and accordingly we decide the priority. If something that's easily achievable, we try to take it slowly because it's easily achievable. But something that's challenging and that requires a lot of, minds at the same time to work for that, we plan way ahead, and we proceed like that.
Okay, I think that answered that question specifically. So we have
I
another
hope.
one. In modern day VFX, what do you prefer? Doing most of the stuff through CGI or try to do as much as you can physically?
I prefer the blend of it. All the examples that I've given for the movies like Interstellar, Inception, Prestige, these are some of the best examples of how you can get the balance between digital and practical effects at the same time. And just, I believe, like it's on my personal take, but when a movie becomes heavy, it looks digitally heavy. And when a movie becomes practically heavy, it looks practically heavy. So it's very important to find a very best results, because that way that we have these formats like IMAX, that's 10 times the resolution of your home screen. So it's great.
So I think we have someone who is a little bit okay with the basics on VFX. So he has asked, as a person, I am familiar with VFX software. What are the apps and softwares that we use that you use for VFX for big movies?
Well, I can name one or two maybe. The most important ones are Nuke for compositing. We use Houdini for special effects. And you can use the entire studio. For small level VFX, what we do is we rely a lot on Cinema 4D Blender, where it's very user friendly. It's mostly free to begin with. Some of these softwares. And then you also have the Adobe Suite if you want to just stick to basic two-dimensional work. After Effects is great. You can do many things in After Effects, So yeah, these are some of the softwares.
So we also have another one. I think you might have touched on this during your session. So how can I become a professional VFX artist?
I mean, so I wouldn't say that, if you are already a bachelor degree holder, you can definitely look for some master courses that are in and around offered by many colleges in India. Some of the private institutions also offer many animation and visual effects courses. So you can take that, because it's very important for you to know and understand these terms, and it has its own language, like I believe every other industry has. So once you start learning, you can just get fluent at it. And then eventually, after you're complete with your course, your initial learnings, you can get into the industry. You can apply. I'm pretty sure hiring spree is on. And like I said, the industry is booming.
Okay, I think we also have another question. So he said, Mr. Prakhar, you are not so far from us compared to other international speakers that you guys have brought down for Creative Circuit. So any plans on visiting Sri Lanka?
Oh, I would love to. It's on my bucket list, to be really honest. I've always wanted to. My cousin went last year, and she had just a lot of beautiful things and pictures to share. She said that it's probably the best trip she has had in a while. And then I can't wait after hearing all those things. So yeah, I'm planning soon.
Okay, so I think that we had around 5 to 6 questions. So thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. And finally, we have a question from our end as well in terms of Creative Circuit. So what are your thoughts on Creative Circuit 3.0? So where we try to bring down people, backstage heroes who don't get highlighted normally, like VFX artists like yourself, and give them the opportunity to address the world.
I think the best thing that you guys are doing is connecting us with everyone. I think to play the middle person here is very important, because when I was on the other side of the screen, I did not have access to a lot of information. I was also looking out for people who I can probably approach and learn more from. Back in the day, LinkedIn was a thing where I remember messaging many people. But when you have a whole event around creativity, I mean, that can just be amazing, which already is in your case. So yeah, this is a great achievement for you guys as well, to be able to do that, to be able to pull it off, and in such a manner, right? So right,
Thank you,
yeah,
Mr. Prakhar.
great effort, guys. This is nice.
Thank you, Mr. Prakhar. We deeply appreciate that comment. So I think we have come to the end of our session on VFX. So I would like to express deep gratitude to Mr. Prakhar for that amazing session, for sharing our insights and experiences into the VFX industry. I'm sure our audience was fascinated by what you had to say, and wishing you all the best for your future endeavors.
Okay, that was fun. Thank you so much for having me.
So, your message to the audience. So, we will be having the next session of Creative Circuit 3.0 at 7 p.m. Join us again to meet Ms. Kim Barrett, a world-renowned costume designer, who will be with us to talk about The Matrix, Charlie's Angels, and Aquaman.
सोडा यावणे पॉपी ना चमत्कार है